We often gaze at the stars to search for life beyond our world, forgetting that right beneath our feet, in the deepest recesses of the ocean, exists another universe entirely. A universe where sunlight is a foreign concept, where night is an eternal cloak, and silence weighs heavily upon every millimeter of existence. Welcome to the floor of the Bering Sea, the most frigid and unforgiving frontier on our planet. At a depth of 200 meters, the concept of time renders itself meaningless. The water temperature hovers perilously close to the freezing point, a cold that not only numbs the senses, but can arrest the very flow of blood. The pressure here is catastrophic, equivalent to carrying a heavy truck on your back every second of every day. Yet, life here does not merely surrender, it rises with a defiant pride. Look closely into the gloom. Those jagged, irregular shapes. They are moving. That is not a rock formation, it is living architecture, a fortress built of bone and flesh. Thousands, yes, thousands of giant creatures are stacked upon one another, dense and towering, forming a living spire amidst the ocean void. These are the red king crabs, the unsung monarchs of the cold waters. Why do these armored titans embrace so tightly? Because down here, solitude equals death. The Arctic currents cut to the bone, and the only way to survive is to share the fragile warmth radiating from their kin. They form a solid block of unity, shielding the weak and the young deep within the pile, while the strongest, the veterans, volunteer for the outer ring to face the full brutality of the current. Separating himself from that living structure is our protagonist. Let us call him King, a true Leviathan with a leg span exceeding 1.5 meters. King's shell no longer bears the bright red of youth. It has deepened into a bruised purple, encrusted with moss and barnacles, the medals of time. Across a carapace, wider than a helmet, lie the jagged scars of life and death battles fought over 15 years. King's body is a marvel of evolution. A thick, chitinous armor, bristling with sharp spines like a forest of spears, serves not only as defense, but as an exoskeleton to withstand the crushing tonnage of the sea. King stirs, shaking off the dust of the deep. His jet-black eyes, perched on flexible stalks, rotate and scan the infinite darkness. The currents are shifting, carrying a message. Winter is fading, and hunger, the primal engine of all living things, is awakening. It is time for King to leave the safety of the fortress. The dynasty begins to move. As King steps forward, the seabed seems to tremble under his weight. But do not let that bulky exterior deceive you. King moves on the very tips of his pointed legs, gliding as lightly as a ballet dancer across a stage of silt. The elongated legs of the king crab function like perfect hydraulic pistons, allowing them to execute marches lasting hundreds of miles without fatigue. They walk ceaselessly, day and night, for hunger is a cruel taskmaster. In this murky world, vision is secondary. King sees the world through flavor. Observe the small feelers, his antennae, flicking frantically before his mouth. They are the most sensitive chemical laboratories on the planet. They taste every molecule of water, analyzing every drifting particle. A whale carcass decomposing miles away? A colony of snails buried beneath the mud? No secret of the ocean can remain hidden from those antennae. And then the signal arrives. The scent of life is thick in the water. King accelerates. He leads the army into a jagged reef. This is the banquet table of the kings. The diet of a king crab is as diverse as the ocean itself. Sea stars, urchins, snails, and the decaying dead. King pauses before a giant clam, its shell clamped shut. To most predators, this clam is an impregnable bunker. To King, it is merely an appetizer. Observe his ultimate weapon, the right claw. It is significantly larger than the left, rugged and coarse. This is nature's hydraulic crusher. King clamps gently onto the clam's shell. There is no rush. He slowly increases the pressure. Crack! A dry, sharp sound resonates through the water. The limestone shell, as hard as granite, shatters into fragments. The force of King's grip is comparable to having your hand crushed by a heavy iron blast door. Once the fortress is breached, the smaller left claw, dexterous and precise like a surgeon's scalpel, begins its work. It tears soft strips of meat, feeding them rhythmically into his mouth. The meal proceeds in a terrifying silence, broken only by the sound of shattering shells and the current sweeping away the debris, where shrimp and small fish wait to scavenge the scraps. King eats not just for today. He is stockpiling energy for a journey far longer and more treacherous than any before. But the ocean is no free restaurant. It is a gladiator's arena where the hunter can become the prey in the blink of an eye. As King's legion passes through a narrow, shadowed canyon where the currents turn chaotic, an ancient threat emerges. The mortal enemy of the crustacean, the giant Pacific octopus. If King is a stoic armored tank, the octopus is a fluid ghost, a master of camouflage and strategy. From a rocky crevice, without a sound, the soft-bodied monster strikes. Lacking bones, it flows through the tightest gaps. Its skin shifts color in milliseconds, blending perfectly with the gray stone. 8 powerful arms, lined with suckers, wrap tightly around a brother marching beside King. The battle is brutal. The crab struggles in desperation, pinching at its enemy, but the octopus's rubbery body absorbs every blow. The cunning predator seeks to flip the crab over. The white underbelly, the Achilles heel of the crab, is exposed to the razor-sharp beak of the hunter. King escapes, barely. He raises his claws in a defensive posture, retreating into the gloom. He has won the gamble of fate today, but the death of his kin is a cold reminder of his status here. No king is immortal. Yet, deep-sea monsters still obey the laws of nature. There is another monster, far more insidious, descending from the world of light above. A giant steel cage slowly lowers from the heavens, carrying a scent so seductive it borders on madness, the smell of fresh, oily herring. It is the invitation of death. For crabs maddened by winter hunger, this scent is irresistible. Dozens of young, inexperienced crabs rush in blindly. They squeeze through the funnel-shaped entrance, a door that opens only one way. They feast, intoxicated by their final meal, unaware that they have been stripped of their freedom forever. King approaches the cold metal object. He taps his claw against the iron bar, feeling a vibration that is alien, unnatural. The survival instinct of a 15-year-old warrior screams louder than his hunger. He smells the fear of those trapped inside. King hesitates. He looks at his kin, imprisoned, and makes his choice. Wisdom triumphs over desire. He turns away, continuing his march into the darkness, leaving behind the sweet trap of mankind. After months of relentless marching, crossing hundreds of kilometers of the deep, the landscape around King begins to shift. The water grows warmer. Sunlight, a luxury of the surface, now filters through the turquoise water, dancing upon the white sand. Spring has arrived. King has reached the Holy Land, the shallow waters necessary to sustain his bloodline. Millions of king crabs from every corner of the deep converge here. This is not a time for war or hunting. It is the season of love and continuity. King finds a female. He approaches with caution, devoid of aggression. Gently, King uses his claw to grasp hers. A hand-holding, romantic in the way of crabs, that may last for days, even a week. He becomes her guardian, shielding her from all eyes until she is ready to cast off her old shell to fulfill her destiny as a mother. And then it is King's turn to face the greatest trial of his life, the molt. That majestic purple armor, the shield that has protected him through countless battles, has become a prison, stifling his growth. To live, he must accept the agony of shedding the past. King finds a secluded crevice hidden from prying eyes. The process begins. Imagine having to pull your entire body out of your own skin. King convulses, struggling to withdraw every long leg, every delicate antennae out of the rigid, old skeleton. It is an exhausting wrestling match that lasts for hours. When King finally emerges, he looks unrecognizable. His body is soft as silk, a pale, vulnerable pink. In this moment, the King of the Ocean is more fragile than ever. A single small fish could end his life. King lies motionless, gasping, pumping water into his body to inflate his new shell to a larger size. He must lie paralyzed in the dark for 3 days and 3 nights, waiting for the new armor to calcify and harden. That is the price of growth. There is no maturity without pain and risk. Finally, King steps out of the rocks, larger, sleeker, stronger than ever before. At the same moment, from the bodies of the females, billions of crab larvae are released into the currents. They are tiny, drifting like glittering stardust in the shafts of sunlight. King looks up at this cloud of new life. Most of them will become food for others. Only 1 in a million of those tiny souls will survive. They will grow, they will march across the abyss, they will face the monsters and the pain just as their father did, to one day return to this very spot. The mission is complete. Spring fades. The waters begin to cool again. King turns, facing the familiar black abyss. He begins the long journey back to his kingdom of shadows, carrying the wisdom of a lifetime. The dynasty of the king crab continues, an endless, tragic, and magnificent circle in the heart of the vast ocean, where every life is a myth waiting to be told.